Hi, friends. Welcome to Lotus in the Light. I'm Jennifer. We're going to jump right in. Let's just open up and open that connection. I already have um, not the message, but the topic. Spirit put that in my heart during my own meditation, coming out of a message I did recently about sin. Spirit has asked me to talk a little bit more about punishment. So that's what I'm going to do. We will do a card, but I'm going to start with a personal story of punishment as a parent, and then we'll dig in a little bit more. So let's just take that deep breath. Thank you, Spirit, for your divine love, for your divine wisdom, for your commitment to us and being with us, within us. Let's visualize our heart opening up like a flower, white, pure light pouring from within, Spirit of God pouring from within, the wealth of experience, wisdom, love, compassion pouring from within. So now we are open. We're opening our mind, our heart to all that Spirit has to share with us today. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for your open participation. Okay. So there's a particular scripture that was actually impressed upon me to talk about that popped in my head. I had to look it up. I couldn't remember where it was. It's in Proverbs 13:24. I don't know what translation this is. Whoever spares the rod hates their children, but the one who loves their children is careful to discipline them. Whoever spares the rod, or another way that we often say it is spare the rod, spoil the child, right? As if and the way it has morphed in our culture today, or at least like my generation and generations past growing up, was that if you were not physically disciplined, that you would turn into a spoiled brat, right? And that the way to kind of bring you in line is through the rod. So I want to talk about the rod and what the rod really is and um, what punishment is really intended to be in the scriptures, because I think it's been wildly mischaracterized um, throughout the throughout the generations. Okay. So let me just start with a little story from my son. I have four kids, and starting with the first one, he was like the guinea pig for everything. Didn't know what I was doing as a parent. To the last one, I don't know. Can anybody say they really know what they're doing as a parent? I don't know that I did even with the last one, but definitely did a better job. Definitely different styles of rearing these children. I tell my oldest one all the time, I'm so sorry. But anyway, this is to honor him because today happens to be his 33rd birthday. So happy birthday. He knows who he is. I don't even know that he watches these videos, but I'm just sending him all the love. Um, anyway, when he was three, we were inside a fashion bug. Yes, I'm aging myself. There's some people are like, what's a fashion bug? It was a clothing store, a little clothing store. I was inside a fashion bug. He was about 3 years old. And he decided, this is my oldest son, he decided to hide inside one of those round clothing racks to get in the middle in between all the clothes and hide. Thought that would be fun and funny. And I couldn't find him, and I panicked. And I'm hearing the door, the bell on the door every time somebody goes in and out, the doorbell rings. I'm hearing that door over and over, and I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, somebody's stolen it. They've already went out the door. I was like, just panicked. Um, and so um, I'm searching, I'm yelling his name, I'm like doing all the panicky things. Um, and then finally he pops out from in this clothing rack. It felt like an eternity. It probably was like a minute, maybe two, but it felt like an eternity. And I mean, the anger in me just flared up, and it talk about solar plexus energy. That's our life force energy. That anger just set me on fire. I grabbed him. I yanked him out of that store. I think I was beating him all the way to the car. I say beating him. I mean, I don't think my spankings really hurt, but I'm screaming at him and I'm swatting at him um I'm, putting the fear, literally putting the fear of God in him. um we get to the car, he's crying, I'm crying, I'm bleeding, my nail had broken. I didn't even know it. Like my adrenaline was so high, I didn't even know my nail broke, and I'm like bleeding everywhere, and oh my gosh, it was like a sight. Um, and I don't mean to make light of that, but uh, that was that was common parenting back then. I'll say that. Um, what's interesting is, how far we've come. I do believe that we have continued to become more and more enlightened about human behavior, and about how to better guide your children and raise your children in a way that doesn't include violence. So, but what's interesting is that, spare the rod, spoil the child was very much the sentiment of like my parents' generation, and I know their parents' generation. So weird. What does this text mean? Is it true that we're supposed to be bringing violence into the picture to bring our children into control? And that's really what it's all about. And so let me just first make this statement. No, I do not believe that is the highest and best way. It is a way. I don't think it's the highest and best way. And certainly it can get out of hand and turn into even a more abusive situation. Um, some people might call what I did abusive. I mean, what's the definition? I don't know. But what I'll say is, as we start to explore our behaviors, and as we're willing to examine ourselves closely for the purpose of our own growth, for the purpose of our own transformation, if you're willing to do that work, it's dirty work. You got to look at the things that I mean, I'm not proud of that moment, and I'm sharing it now publicly. Um, so those things that we're not proud of, when we start to really dig deep, dive deep, and do the work to understand why we made those choices, those kinds of decisions are really rooted in fear. So think about how I was feeling. I was terrified that my child was going to be harmed, that my child had been taken, that I'd never see him again, that he could be killed, that he could be hurt. Like, all these things are running through my head of what is possible. And I felt out of control. I felt hopeless. I felt, so it was just a body full of fear. And then when I did find him, and now I don't have to worry that he's going to be hurt, now I'm just angry. And that anger really fueled me again in my life force area, which gave me that adrenaline rush to drag him out of the store, and, all the rigmarole, and have that really chaotic, um, unhealthy, unhinged response. And I want to say anger is not bad. Um, and I say all the time, there's really nothing that's, in my opinion, it's not about bad versus good, right? It's about what's for your highest and best good, what's for the collective's highest and best good, meaning all of humanity, meaning your community, your family, so on and so forth. And so anger's not bad. Anger is an emotion. It is energy and motion, emotion. Energy and motion, or emotions, are there to guide us. They're there to give us a message. And the message is, you feel afraid and you don't know what to do with that emotion. Or now, in this case, you feel angry, but those negative emotions that are rooted in fear, which anger is rooted in fear, it's a secondary emotion, if you will, of fear. When you feel those emotions, it's your body's way, and your emotions way. It's your body's way of telling you that you are somehow out of alignment with spirit. There's a misalignment somewhere. And so if I could have calmed and centered myself, like a more appropriate response was, I'm angry that my child did that. Okay, let's take a beat. Let's take a deep breath. Let's acknowledge the anger and say, why might I be feeling that way? What just happened? I get it. I was very concerned that my child could be hurt. Now I see that he's okay. So thank you, anger, for showing me that there was some fear there that I needed to deal with. But instead, what it turned into was the way to get these emotions under control became about controlling someone else. Okay. I don't want to feel that fear again. And the way to avoid feeling that fear again is to get this person, my child, to stop doing that. Don't ever do that again. Let me bring him in line. Okay. He's got to toe the line. And so that reaction was an effort to control him, as opposed to what we see, what we're learning now in this more enlightened age, a better way of child rearing, as guiding and directing them as being way more effective. And in fact, that's nothing new. Jesus was already doing it. It was already being taught in the scriptures and even in older, more ancient religious concepts as well. So definitely not new to our culture now. But I think what happened is we forgot that. We took on this interpretation of the spare the rod, spoil the child that said, hard discipline is what is needed. And it was amplified in American culture through uh, the the trans the transformation of Christianity and American culture became even more about that, even more about control, external control, even to the point of accepting violence in through the what I would call the John Wayne culture. There's a book out there called Jesus and John Wayne. If you're interested in these ideas, that's a great book that just talks about the influence of um, like how Christian leaders, again, I think from a good place, the same as a parent, right? The parent's goal is to protect the child. I don't want my child to get hurt. I don't want to feel that fear again. I want to make sure that they're safe and protected and cared for and loved. And to do that, I need them to do these things. I need them to stay near me. I need them to be in eye shot or whatever. And as they get older, the same thing happens. They're making these choices. They're going out now, being more independent. You have less control. The fear grows. And so, really, if you don't figure out how to navigate that in a healthy way and navigate those emotions in a healthy way, it manifests often in this attempt to externally control as opposed to internally control. The real freedom comes when you can identify and work through your internal emotions and not try to control other people. Now, I get your children need to have some rules and discipline and rearing, and that's what the scripture says. So let's read it again. Whoever spares the rod hates their children, but the one who loves their children is careful to discipline them. So is discipline uh, violent? Does it need to be violent? And I would say in our highest and best scenario, it never needs to be violent. That's what Jesus said. We do not need violence. It's about peace. It's about love. And so when we're tapped into spirit and we better understand that, we make better choices that are healthier for us and healthier for our family, our community, and the world. And I think the big word that we get hung up on there is the word rod. Spare the rod. What does that really mean? Well, what that really means, that's a shepherd's tool. So the shepherd has a staff and a rod, okay? And so the staff has the little hook. So the staff is what the shepherd would use to bring the sheep back in closer to them so they'd be safe. Or maybe if it fell in a ditch or something, that's what they would use to pull it back out of the ditch, right? So it's to help keep the sheep close so that the shepherd can protect it. The rod, on the other hand, was used for a couple of different things. Sometimes it was used to gently redirect, not to beat the sheep, to gently redirect. Nope, we want you to go this way. That's what we are called to do as parents. That's what we're called to do. We're called to use our wisdom and impart our wisdom upon our children through gentle, loving guidance and redirection. And that's what we see Jesus do time and time again. Think of the woman who's sleeping with everybody's husband, right? What does Jesus do? Does he condemn her? No. Does he physically beat her? No. Into submission? No. He heals her. He finds what that emotion is at the root within her that is causing her to um, act out in these behaviors that are not healthy for her and not healthy for anyone else. And he heals her of it. That's what he does. He loves her through it. He has compassion for her. Um, when I'll leave it at that. I mean, that's a good enough example. You get the picture, right? So anyway, I'm pulling the phone again to read it again, but I don't think I need to read it again. Spare the rod, spoil the child. The rod is not a beating stick. It's not a whipping post, right? The rod is the tool for that gentle guidance and redirection. Now, the rod was also, it was kind of a dual purpose for the shepherd because it was a tool that the shepherd could use to fend off other wild animals or something that might be attacking. Um, so used in that sense of protection. So use it to protect, use it to guide. Don't use it to beat someone into submission or control. It's not about control or power, right? It's about helping them be safe, helping them grow. Okay, so let's do a card here. Do I want to do two cards or just one? So I think I want to do two. This one is going to be one already popped out, so I'm going to grab it. But this is going to be the card Spirit already knew my intention of like, where are we as a collective with regard to what we believe about punishment? Like, are we already in this new mindset, new idea? Um, this is funny. Okay, we get 9 of feathers. Okay. This guy has had it. Okay. This is Jesus, by the way. This guy is at his, I'm going to say his wit's end. Okay. So feathers is equal in tarot to the 9 of air. So this is about what you think, what you believe, what your mind is telling you. And, this is about Peter's denial of Jesus. So then Peter remembered the word Jesus had spoken. Before the rooster crows, oh, I'm sorry, I said that was Jesus. I think this is Peter. I saw the word Jesus down there. Then Peter remembered the word Jesus had spoken. Before the rooster crows, you will disown me 3 times. And he went outside and wept bitterly. Listen, this is all the punishment Peter needs. He is beating himself up over here, and we are very good at that, aren't we? And here's why. Because if we deserve to, if anyone deserves to be punished, I deserve to be punished. That's kind of how most of us think about ourselves, right? Um, if Jesus deserved to be punished, not he didn't deserve it, but you know what I'm saying. That's we get into these weird beliefs about ourselves and about what we deserve. So Peter's already beating himself up. He doesn't need Jesus or anyone else to also beat him for that decision. So he has made this decision to deny Jesus 3 times. 3 times. But I do want to say this. Despite that, Jesus never turned on him. Jesus never turned on him. In fact, Jesus said, "You're going to be the rock that I build my church on." So that it's the opposite. Jesus was just trying to steer him and guide him in the right direction. So when Peter did deny him, he said, "Get behind me, Satan." And what he was saying, we have this tendency to want to embody evil. I'm using all these quotes. What Jesus is really saying is, you're letting your ego and your mind drive the narrative here. Because Peter's like, "No way, you're not going to die. We're not letting anybody take you. Like, none of these things you're saying, Jesus, is going to happen." That is when Jesus says, "You're going to deny me 3 times, Peter." So put yourself in check here. You don't know. You don't have the full picture. You don't see it all. Because Peter had a loose connection to spirit. He was, and that's what Jesus was there trying to do, was trying to help them tweak and tune in to that connection to spirit, where they had kind of fallen, not just the church, the Jew, the Jewish or Israelite community, it doesn't matter who we're talking about, humanity had kind of lost their way and lost touch. And so Jesus is trying to help them find it. And so he's trying to show him when he says, "Get behind me, Satan." What he's saying is, you are out of alignment. Your spirit is not in alignment with your human side, and you're letting your human side be in charge and make the decisions without opening up your heart to spirit. And so that's when we make decisions like Peter did just before he denied him, where he cuts off the soldier's ear, trying to protect Jesus. And Jesus is like, no, no, violence is not the answer. Okay. So you see the theme here. Jesus is a kind, peaceful person. Um, and now Peter is at a number 9. He is all up in his head, like, what have I done? Well, how could I have done this? Like, he is like really feeling it. Because he's he's not listening to this. He's listening to this. Okay. So that's where you're at. And that was the ask from spirit is, where are you in your belief about all of this, about punishment and so on and so forth. Um, Sorry, I'm trying to figure out where I want to take the next card from. I think I want to take it from here. Okay. If that's what you're feeling, it's time to move on from that feeling. It's and listen, a number 9, you are right around the corner from a new idea about this. Peter probably thinks he deserves to be on this cross hanging instead of Jesus. That's what he's thinking right there. That's not what he deserves. And he's right around the corner from figuring that out. He's right around the corner from figuring that out. So Spirit, close this message with just I'm pulling from the Light Code Apothecary. I don't know why. Just feels like what I need to pull from. I know why. Spirit prompted me, but it feels like a weird day. It doesn't feel like what my brain would have picked, but it's the one. So we're gonna trust. The Spirit just put a bow on this message. Help us understand then what we need to do to move forward to get out of this. Nothing flipped there, so I'm gonna keep going to get out of this headspace of beating ourselves up for the choices that we've made in the past and believing that we need to be punished. And let me tell you, when you get out of the space of thinking that you need to be punished, that the shackles fall off, and then that frees you up to see the beauty in everyone else as well, and not feel like, I mean, we get so hung up on what people deserve. We want to be the judge all the time. There's a different way. There's a different way, but it starts here. Don't worry about anyone else. Start here, because you'll never be in right relationship with anyone until you're in right relationship with yourself, aka with spirit, with God, because God dwells in here. Okay. Is this the right deck? Because whatever that was, like, it like flipped and flipped back. Oh, here we go. Here we go. All right. Beyond limitation. Be a tall poppy. Set new bars for what is possible. Okay. So this message is all about punishment, right? And I think what we're getting here is that there's something beyond. There's a new idea beyond this. It's time to move beyond the limitations of believing that you deserve punishment every time you do something that isn't perfect. I need you to hear me and remember that when we have what I'm going to call negative experiences, meaning when we make decisions that create energy, negative energy, or energy that isn't for your highest or best good, and or isn't for humanity's highest and best good, because usually they're one and the same. If it isn't good for you, it isn't good for anyone else, and vice versa. Okay. When we make decisions in that low vibrational energy that results in that, it is our belief that we need to be punished for that. But it's time to move beyond that limitation. It's time to move beyond that idea, because those experiences are just to teach us lessons. They're just to help us grow and move beyond. Sometimes even you will grow through something and you will realize that's not the way. I'm not going to do it that way anymore. Like I've learned now. And even then you will experience it again. And you're like, why? I've moved out of that vibrational energy. I shouldn't need to experience this again. But it's spirit's way of saying, of I'm going to say, testing you to kind of close that cycle of your life, to kind of close that particular journey out and say, yep, now here you go. You said it, you believed it, and now you have demonstrated it. And now we can close that out and move on. And so, okay, let's just read this. Beyond limitation, be a tall poppy, set new bars for what is possible. It's a 37, it's a 10. So let me show you. You're moving from this to this. You're moving from a 9 to a 10. The 10 is like the start of the new thing, the start of the new belief, the start of the new something better. Okay, here we go. These are really long. I mean, these are pages. So I think I might start with like the first paragraph and then maybe the last paragraph. Let's see. Explore and bring awareness to the area where you know you would like to shine brighter and access more of your brilliance and power. Now just do it. Don't worry about what others think about you. Your ambition might be triggering for them due to their limited beliefs. This is not your stuff. Be aware of subtle ways that they may put you down, but don't take it on. You will find other more aligned souls who will be far more enjoyable to spend time with. And you will experience the immense satisfaction of being the best you can be. That letting go of these ideas, this punishing yourself idea, is going to help you become that best version of you. Sorry, where's the last? I think I'm going to read because mostly because I'm just interested in what it's saying. It says tall poppy syndrome. Let's see what tall poppy syndrome is. There's a term called tall poppy syndrome, which is the tendency to criticize highly successful people. This makes sense, right? I.e. tall poppies, and cut them down. In some countries, places, or cultures, this behavior may go unnoticed until you go to another place and notice the difference. For me, visiting the US, where the sky is the limit in terms of ambitious endeavors, was a noticeable juxtaposition after many years in Australia, a place that is known to have tall poppy syndrome ingrained in its culture. So there's a limiting belief there and a judgment about how much somebody is able to have and what they're worthy of. And that's part of what Peter's dealing with here. That's part of what we're doing when we inflict punishment on someone, is we're saying, we need you to be limited to this. And anything outside of this is punishable. It's the need to control others. So when you can release the need to control others, then their potential opens up and your potential opens up to something beautiful, and moving out of this. Okay, thank you. I love you. I hope this message resonated for you. Peace out.